Okay, so in this video, we will look at the general shape of the log graph and exponential graph. So generally, we'll look at the coefficient of x. So for ln x, for this one, the coefficient is positive. So it's something like ln 1x. So it can be ln 2x. It can be ln 2x plus 1. Okay, so generally you look at the coefficient. So in this case, if the coefficient is positive for ln, it can also be for log 2x, something like this. Okay, ln and log, they follow the same thing. They follow the same shape. But if you put it side by side, sometimes for comparison, right, they may look a bit like steeper or gentler. Okay, but whatever is it, they follow this shape. And you can explore the X-Intercept. So how you explore the X-Intercept? You put in y equal to 0. So when you put in y equal to 0, you end up doing a logarithm. So you end up doing a logarithm. So it should cut at 1. So just in case, sometimes it may not cut at 1 if there is a variation in the expression for x. So later on, you got to check. So whether the x-axis is always 1, and this one comes with a vertical asymptote. So why is the vertical asymptote there? Because it will be undefined when this become a 0. So you go and press ln 0, it is a math error. So it will become undefined when x is equal to 0. So x equal to 0 become the dotted line. So the proper name for the dotted line will be asymptote. So undefined things will give us a asymptote of what we call dotted line. So in this case, because in logarithm we got undefined value, so there will be some dotted line. Okay, so same thing, the other, if the x is negative, so in the next part, x is negative, you will see minus x. So it can be ln minus 2x, ln minus 3x. It can be lg minus x. Generally, the shape will look like this. And it also comes with a dotted line because you will also get math error if this is a 0. So this becomes the dotted line. Okay, and you should also check the x-intercept. Do the same checking, we'll check the x-intercept. So x-intercept will be, again, y equal to 0. So do the same thing, y equal to 0. Ln is base e. So you realize that it will cut at minus 1. So does that mean that you will always have no y-intercept? Not necessary. So sometimes we can have equation that is like this. So you will end up cutting the y-intercept. So for the exponential part, you also look at x. If x is positive, so it can be e2x, can be e3x. Generally, the shape will be like this. And there will be a dotted line here. So if you can see, right, there is no x-intercept because the x-axis is a dotted line. So in this case, you only need to find the y-intercept, which is quite easy, just putting in x equal to 0. So you do need to check whether is it always cutting at 1. So the other case is negative, e to the power minus x. So it can be minus 2x, it can be minus 3x. So generally it will look like downward sloping. And again, there's a dotted line. So this dotted line can be shifted if the graph shift up and down. So later on, there will be an example on this part. So again, if you check, if you put in x equal to 0, it will cut at 1. So that will be the exponential graph. So just for your information, if you still recall, E on your calculator is 2.718. So actually this one is something like 2.718x. And here, this one is something like 2.718 minus x. So just information on the values of E. So the next one, we will explore also under exponential. But now our exponential will have a numerical base. E is also a numerical base. It's just that E is 2.718. So we're going to explore other kind of numerical base. So for example, okay, I have this one where the base is greater than 1. So it cannot be equal to 1, it's greater than 1. You can choose like 2x, you can choose like 3x. So in that case, right, it will be upward sloping. So same thing, you put in x equal to 0, you will get a y-intercept of 1. It comes with a dotted line, horizontal. So for the horizontal line, you will not know how to calculate the horizontal dotted line at the moment. Okay. So you just need to take note that for exponential, there is a dotted line at the x-axis. So in another situation, what if a is not greater than 1? So a is a fraction. So for example, you can choose something like half x. You can choose something like 1/3 x. So in that case, right, it will be coming down. So it will be coming down. And there will be a dotted line here. So you put in x equal to 0, you will also get a half. So this will be the situation that you will need to kind of like know. So there will be two parts to a general question that they will ask. Okay, so before we go to the type of question, I'm going to show you like generally the steps. Okay, so maybe I'm going to change this question to a positive part. Okay, I'm going to change this question to ln of x plus 8. Okay, so if you look at the coefficient, right, I already can decide that the shape is going to look like this. Okay, which is this shape, which is this one. Because I look at the coefficient of x, I already know that it will be this shape. Okay, and if it's this shape, I actually need to calculate the x-intercept. Okay, so now I know the shape. Okay, so actually it's very important that you should know the shape first. So I'm going to know the shape by looking at the coefficient. And then I'm going to calculate the x-intercept. So I'm going to put in my y equal to 0. So I'll get E0. So I will get a -7. Okay. So I also need to check the dotted line. So remember the dotted line is the part where this is undefined. So you'll be undefined when x plus 8 is equal to a 0. So actually this is the dotted line. And also I might need to check whether there is a y-intercept or not. So when I put in x equal to 0, I do get a value. That means later on, I'm expecting that it will cut at the y-axis. So with all this information, I can draw it up. It's a very intuitive kind of thing. So any sketch, right, you will be questioning. You should have an idea of the shape. It's just like if you have drawn your small graph, set graph, you also have an idea. Is it a small graph? Is it a set graph? And then you also think about the x-intercept, y-intercept. That is the general thing that you need to think of for any sketch. So now I'm going to put everything together. Okay, so I got a dotted line already. So the dotted line is somewhere here, -8. And I know that it's going to cut at -7. Okay, and I know that the shape will be in that manner. So actually, if I draw, I will get something like this. So this part will be the y-intercept that I calculated. So that's how the shape looks like. Okay, so for exponential graph, sometimes there will be some shifting. So to make things easier, I'm just going to cancel away this part first. So I'm just going to ignore the shifting first. So I'm just going to focus on y equal to e1 minus x. So if I focus on this, if you look at the coefficient of x is negative. So I'm expecting that it will look something like this because the coefficient is negative. And I should be checking the y-intercept. So I put in x equal to 0. So my y-intercept is 1 minus 0. So if I do check it out, I will get 2.72. So if you look carefully, that's just a very simple graph. So this simple graph is going to cut at I think I use another color. So this simple graph is going to cut at 2.72. Okay, and there should be a dotted line here. So what happened when I decide to shift it down? Okay, so what happened when I decide to shift it down? So then I got to mentally think 2.72 will also get shifted down. It will be shifted down like this. So this will become 0.72. The dotted line will also get shifted down. And because of the shifting down, you end up having a x-intercept. So how are you going to calculate the x-intercept? You are going to put in y equal to 0 into this equation. So that's where a little bit of the logarithm comes in place. So you got to ln both sides. And then you got to find your x. Okay, you can do your punching, you'll get 0.306. So it ends up cutting at 0.306. So the blue one is before shifting down. The red one is after you shift down. So during the shifting, the dotted line shift with it. Okay, so if you are having some shifting, right, you are advised to ignore it. And then after you draw out, then you do the shifting down. It can be shift down or it can be shift up. So this will be the general idea. So you know the basic shape based on the coefficient of x, and then you calculate the relevant x-intercept and y-intercept.